Welcome back to the rest of How Farms Work. We're out here with Andrew and Ryan. Ryan's going to be kind of quiet, sit in the back, keeping Calvin company. But we got a John Deere. You just tell me what it is.
Yeah, this is a 2510 high-speed John Deere anhydrous bar. This is 11 coulters. So when John Deere builds their bars, they usually use an odd number of coulters. The reason a lot of guys like running odd numbers is so that they're not driving down the corn stalks with the tires of the tractor. Yeah. Some guys it's a big deal, other guys it's not as big of a deal. Kind of plays, it's kind of funky with your lines when you run your GPS auto steer lines, but it's not that big of a deal to manage. So this is a 27.5 foot guidance pattern if you're running this type of a setup. It's a very heavy machine, much heavier than what we would typically rent out to our customers. So this one's actually for sale. The customer has been using this. I helped him out with it with his anhydrous last fall. He happens to work with a neighbor that does anhydrous as well. So between the two of them, I think they feel like they'll get by with the one bar. And it's very nice shape. These retail around $60,000 with a Raven cooler. You can choose what kind of a cooler you want to put on these when you buy them from Deere. By the time you add the cooler and everything, new about $60,000. This is very little wear on it, and I think the customer's looking to get around $40,000. So he was nice enough to let me take it out, do a couple demos with some farmers that are looking at doing anhydrous. Going this fall a little bit, and then going forward in the future. We just took a really nice trial out where we had anhydrous in a 40-acre field. We had 20 acres anhydrous and 20 acres with 28%. And the corn really wasn't nitrogen deficient this year. We saw a little bit of stress on the 28% applied corn on the in-season imagery. And when we took it to the combine, we saw around a 9 bushel yield difference. Stuff in the anhydrous also happened to have 1 pound better test weight. I don't quite understand that. It just could be the nature of where we're at in the field and things, but all the same hybrid. We tried to keep all the factors the same. The field generally runs really consistently, but I've seen really good results from anhydrous, and it's kind of nice we do some trials here and there to make sure that we're using the right forms of nitrogen, whether it's anhydrous or not. Everybody's practice a little different. We want to make sure that we're fitting the nutrients based on the way you guys farm.
And I think it's pretty obvious too, we're sold on anhydrous. I mean, we're out in a farm that did not get anhydrous, and we are currently harvesting it. And I can tell you right now, I'm happier with the fields that I've harvested this fall so far that have gotten the anhydrous. And that is nobody's fault. It was just got too late in the spring, and we weren't willing to go through and put anhydrous on for the amount of time we had. But as far as, let's talk about the different designs of this bar, because it's not like the ones we've had on our farm in the past.
Yep.
So
as you can see, it folds twice. With this bar all the way down on the ground, you can then raise and lower your application coulters themselves. So these will pivot. You just run one set of hydraulics to raise it in and out. You don't physically raise the bar itself. This bar is designed to be mounted on the 3-point if you want to, or to be a draw type bar. So that's why this design has come to play. This is a high-speed bar. It's designed to go 8 to 10 mile an hour. And those coulters, you raise and lower them out of the ground. Really good design. We got a lot of customers that run this style bar for their anhydrous. Very minimal soil disruption. In fact, you see just the one coulter that goes in the ground, which...
let's talk about that a little bit. I've never actually seen one of these that close.
Yep. So you've got your scraper right here. This piece gives you a little bit wider slot so the anhydrous has a place to go.
Okay.
And that scraper is going to keep this coulter clean. This coulter, all that purpose is just open the ground up, create that slot, and then right in here, you can, if you look in the bottom of that shoe, you can see the tube that the anhydrous comes down in.
Okay.
So it comes through that tube. It expands when it hits the soil. The point is to keep a narrow slot so you don't have a lot of room for the anhydrous to escape up.
Yes.
We call it sealing. And
Well,
and anhydrous expands at a rate of 400 to 1. So if you do see a little smoke, it's not like you're losing a lot of nitrogen.
it just seems like it.
It seems like it. You think of, basically a 2 liter of Coke full of anhydrous will expand to about the size of a semi. It seems like it's, it expands greatly. So don't be afraid to see a little bit of smoke out there, especially if you're not a farmer and you drive by and guys are putting anhydrous on. You can probably smell it a little bit. You can see it. You can detect, your nose can detect like a 1% change of nitrogen in the air. Air is 78% nitrogen,
Yep.
or 72%, somewhere in there. And so you just add a little bit of this. You're really only just adding to what's already in the air, but we're detecting the different changes of levels right
Yep.
in the vicinity where you're at. Anhydrous can be dangerous if you don't have common sense. You just want to be careful. You have common sense. Don't try to operate equipment around anhydrous unless you've been properly trained. But it's a very good form of nitrogen.
Yeah, I believe that's something I just got done telling you. That's something that's kind of said around here every once in a while. Just use your head and don't be stupid. Think about what you're doing. I mean, I was a little anxious about being around this the first year, but see, we're used to the DMI,
Shank.
yeah, the shank coulters, and these are more of a low profile no-till settings, right?
Yeah. So if you've seen our custom bar,
And I haven't, by the way.
That's a true egg bar. It's our gray bar that we run out there, and that's got a coulter on it as well, like this. The shanks, those are a lot of times are more for a chisel type condition, even though I do have customers run them on no-till.
Yeah.
They disrupt the soil a lot more than these will.
Yep.
And in fact, that's why I brought this up here. I've got a customer that feels like this would be the route he would go if we were to buy his own bar or want to do anhydrous going forward. That's why I brought this up, so he could try. It'd be his first year trying anhydrous.
Okay. And anhydrous, in the years since we've first started working with you, how much have you really seen anhydrous start to come into this area?
Yeah, it's growing again. I think I get people are paying attention to it. People are paying attention to price a lot more too because of where the corn markets are. So if you can get your nitrogen source for say 5 to 10 cents a unit per pound of nitrogen less, it adds up.
Yeah.
Plus the benefit of what it does growing corn. And there's a lot of debates on what anhydrous does to the soil. I'm not gonna people can have their own mindset. I'm not gonna say that people are wrong, but all I know is from my experience, nitrogen stays in the ground longer. It's more stable in the ground once you put it there, and I don't see any reason why there'd be less soil life. There's where we put anhydrous. There's people that talk about anhydrous being used to create aircraft runaways to harden the soil. I could see that if you're putting it right down on the surface, it'll freeze the ground and things like that. But we're doing it agronomically. We're putting it in the ground when the temperatures are right and when things are fed, and again, it grows corn.
I say that was exactly what I was about to ask you, because that's the number one question anybody ever asks me about anhydrous is, what does it do to the soil? That it kills everything off there and that it kills all the life that's in the soil.
Yeah, no, it's we put a stabilizer with the anhydrous. It's called N-Serve. It's been around since the 70s. And there's been different studies that have checked for microbial and earthworm populations being before and after anhydrous. We're gonna paralyze basically the bacteria that would convert the nitrogen for a short time period. But because we're providing nitrogen, nitrogen makes everything grow, including bacteria. We're giving the nitrogen to the soil longer, later, and at better doses, I guess. And that does a lot more benefit than any harm that you could potentially do by disrupting that for just a short time period.
Yeah.
We don't want that nitrogen to be available in the spring when you get 15 inches of rain. We want the nitrogen to be available later on in the season.
Yep.
And putting it down in the fall is of no concern to me. Here in Wisconsin, the temperatures are,
freezing. They're saying single digits, so
yeah, it's not like it's 70 degrees outside and we're putting this stuff on. The ground's cold. There's not the bacteria growing in the soil right now. Everything is dormant for winter. Good time to put it on, and plus we're not creating extra compaction like we'd be getting in the spring.
Yeah.
Putting it on. I'm trying to get guys to do more and more fall work because that's less you got to do in the spring. You can get your crops planted in a timely manner instead of waiting to get fertilizer or waiting to get stuff done in the ground.
Yep.
I got a lot of guys that they're kind of to the point now of, hey, first thing we got to do is plant in the spring.
That'd be nice.
It's a lot less stressful that way, especially if you got a wet year.
Yeah, or a wet fall like we've had. So that does make it a challenge in the fall. But like you said, this is a high-speed tool, and granted, we're not entirely sure if this is coming back to our farm at all. But that's why I wanted to do a video on it so we could talk about it if we if we never see it again.
Yep.
So, thanks, Andrew, and I think we can plan on seeing more Andrew later on this fall yet for putting on our own anhydrous. So, thanks for watching. Take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.